The other side of things, it's Michael Mapson, Billy Mitchell, and Ian Flinn. We're going to try to jump around to as many matches as we can here this weekend in our feature matches. Not going to be doing any time shifting because it is a team tournament, but you can see Jess Estephan on the top against Michael Mapson. That's an Is It Phoenix Mirror. You got Sam Pardee playing Bridgevine against Billy Mitchell, also playing Bridgevine, and then Ian Flinn is playing Devoted Devastation. That is, of course, the Devoted Druid Finale of Devastation deck that Edgar Magayesh and Pete Ingram have helped popularize at SCGCon Summer against Carolyn Kavanagh playing Eldrazi Tron. So these players have been given the green light. We are going to be underway in our first of many matches here this weekend from Pittsburgh. They could be quick. A Blood Crypt into a Stitcher Supplier is a really good way to get the day started. Top three cards are going to go in the graveyard. Alter, Dementia, and Hogak among them. Hogak loves to be in the graveyard, but it can really be anywhere. As we go over to Sam, he's also got a Blood Crypt of his own as he falls down to 18, and now he'll play the very powerful Faithless Looting. It's kind of funny because I don't know which one of these cards is the better turn one play, which is saying a lot about how good this deck is.
I don't know. I've sort of gotten turned on to Stitcher Supplier being the better turn one opening, especially against interaction. Mitchell's
going to draw a card. It's his second turn of the game, and I don't expect to narrate some very long games. We're not going to see, your Jeskai control mirrors this weekend, I don't think.
Part of what makes the deck so good is one of the ways you would want to try to attack this sort of thing is to run them down before their engine gets set up. And the Stitcher Supplier is such a good source of chump blocking and triggering Vengevines that it cuts off a lot of potential routes of interaction against this deck. You kind of have to lean on the very extreme anti-graveyard cards. Even those don't even work all the time because cards like Stitcher Supplier, Insolent Neonate, and Vengevine buy you so much time that eventually you get set up.
Speaking of Vengevines, 2 have been placed in the graveyard from another copy of Stitcher's Supplier there for Billy Mitchell. He's going to crack a fetch land and get another Blood Crypt, going to fall down to 15. No Bloodghast to bring back from the graveyard just yet, but I don't think that casting Hogak is particularly difficult right now.
Yeah, the question is, can you just play a second creature this turn to get your Vengevines back and then still get the Hogak back and just have a ton on the battlefield?
Well, that answers that, an Insolent Neonate.
That is game. Game.
A couple of Vengevines going to come back from the graveyard. This deck is a crackerjack. Oh, we're going to sacrifice Insolent Neonate, discarding. It looks like a Hogak, so Bridge from the below is going to leave Pardee's graveyard. Draw a card here for Billy Mitchell. I think we're going to see a little Convoke action here for Hogak.
Normal turn 2, normal turn 2.
Oh, and an attack for 8.
Yeah.
There's also that.
And back to you. Also, Mitchell's hand still has 3 cards in it. He's not even done.
Oh, so it does. Here's a Stitcher Supplier for Sam. He will discard a couple. Oh, he'll lose a couple copies of Bloodghast and a Vengevine. He's fighting back.
The problem is if the Bridgevine deck has one vulnerability, it's blocking.
Yes.
It's just not that good at blocking.
Yep.
It's hard for it to catch up from a position of being this far behind.
All right, a couple Bloodghast are back from the Polluted Delta. Pardee is going to crack that Polluted Delta.
I've had some success against this deck on Magic Online playing Mono Red Prowess. Mm-hmm. If you wanted to make a list of, not anti-graveyard cards that are good against this deck, near the top, possibly at the top of the list, is Monastery Swiftspear.
Just kill him.
Yeah, you just kill him. You try to kill him.
And that's something that our fellow comrade Ryan Overturf, big fan of.
Yep. But the type of draw that Mitchell has, that's part of the issue with this deck is on the edge, their best draws, not even that sort of thing is good enough.
Carrion Feeder is going to allow for Vengevine to come back as well. And so now the question is, can Sam make it through his third turn? Make it to his third turn, pardon me, because we can't forget that Hogak, which is an 8/8, also has Trample. Sam going to help out Carolyn really quickly.
And Sam here with only 2 eligible blockers, he's even his most charitable blocks only save him around, I guess saves 8 points of damage, which is not good enough here. So he's going to need more help. To say nothing of Mitchell having cards left over and stuff in his graveyard.
Yeah. Yep. Now, Sam does have a copy of, I believe he's got a copy of Alter Dimension in hand, but doesn't have the ability to play it this turn. If he could probably win by comboing off with that card. So now he's got to try to make it to his next turn. I'm with you. I'm not sure he has a good way to go about doing that, at least not one that I can think of at the moment. He's going to start by sacrificing Stitcher Supplier to Carrion Feeder, it looks like.
Yeah, if he can Stitcher Supplier into a bridge, then he can start generating some tokens that can block.
Okay, well, he's got a Hogak from his hand to play, and that can block the Hogak.
Right. So
and then you can block the Vengevine, and then you're still playing, right?
Yep.
Okay.
He could have actually shot it this turn if he hit bridge.
Yeah.
Like, he could start really going, even from that low of a base.
So it looked like Pardee may be dead, but it looks like instead he may be alive. We're going to head back over to Billy Mitchell now. He's got some thinking to do on his third turn now.
Although Pardee is, assuming that he trades Hogak with Hogak, he's got really no engine set up, and he's still very low. So even though he can survive combat as it is on the table, he's going to need more help the following turn if there even is a following turn.
And that's a big if. It looks like Hogak is going to block Hogak, and Vengevine is going to block Vengevine. And the card that Billy played off screen, we want to get a better look at. Okay, it's a copy of Gravecrawler. That helps. Thank you there. So to me, this looks like Sam is still alive. There will be some trades. Hogak will trade with Hogak. Vengevine will trade with Vengevine. 6 points of damage is going to come through. I believe Pardee's going to fall down to 3. And 3 is not 0, so Billy Mitchell might be in some trouble now.
I mean, if he has no follow-up from here, it is trouble, and Sam is drawing very heavy to getting Bridge from below into the graveyard. If he can do that, he's got the ability to make just a sea of blockers. If he has Alter Dementia as well, he may be able to just combo out the very next turn.
It's a Faithless Looting here for Mitchell post-combat. Sam has already lost 1 bridge earlier in the game from the Insolent Neonate being sacrificed by Mitchell. And there goes Hogak and an Insolent Neonate for the discard for Faithless Looting.
Good sign for Sam.
Yep.
No engine, and implies that Mitchell is not going to be able to follow up with a second creature this turn.
And I take that back. It's actually a Carrion Feeder, not a Gravecrawler. So let's see Carrion Feeder sacrifice a Stitcher Supplier. There goes another copy of Vengevine. Looks like a bridge from below there as well. So it looks like maybe another Stitcher Supplier is going to be sacrificed. Yep, so now 3 more cards will go into the graveyard here for Billy Mitchell, including that Stitcher Supplier, of course. So 2 counters there, and then that Stitcher Supplier should be in the graveyard. Pardee points that out, so that's gone.
And I think we should have some bridge triggers happening here.
Yep. But Sam may be responding to the bridge triggers by sacrificing a Bloodghast.
Right.
In which case, the Bloodghast will be sacrificed, the bridge trigger will go on the stack, and that means that Billy wouldn't get those zombies. So Billy says, I'll respond by sacrificing my Vengevine because I want a couple of zombies. And Sam might respond by saying, I'll sacrifice the Bloodghast again to prevent you from getting these zombies. Looks like these players are going to organize their graveyards a little bit. If you do want to see what these players are playing, Cardboard Live is live. You can see their deck list. A lot of Bridgevine here this weekend as Overgrown Tomb is going to enter the battlefield untapped. And now it looks like another creature post-combat. It is. It's another copy of Carrion Feeder. That's going to bring back 3 copies of Vengevine to get a little defensive because Billy's already gone through his attack step. A couple of Hogaks are in the graveyard. Carrion Feeder doesn't block, so that's going to help assist to play the big 8/8. This is a lot.
This is a nice looking re-up right here.
Yeah.
And so there's so much pressure on Sam to find Bridge. Bridge from below is his route to do one of two things, maybe both. One is get enough blockers onto the battlefield to survive combat next turn. That's not going to be easy. Or to just combo out this turn.
How does this deck stand up into the face of Graveyard Hate? We're going to find out over the course of this weekend, I'm sure. But for right now, there is no Graveyard Hate present, and you can see exactly what happens when it's not there. This is the third turn of the game now for Pardee. He'll play an Altar of Dementia. And now this is the other angle to the deck, folks, as he's going to start off by playing a Polluted Delta, which is a huge find because a fetch land is ideal in this situation.
Sam's got a shot at this. But he's going to, he's going to have to combo out pretty hard here. Again, I think it's predicated. His best odds involve hitting Bridge from Below very early on in the operations he's about to initiate.
He'll start by sacrificing Bloodghast to Altar. He'll mill himself 2 cards, Insolent Neonate and Polluted Delta.
And even that isn't that much of a route because Mitchell has a carry of fear of his own and can break up any sort of bridge engine.
Yep. Sacrifice another Bloodghast. Mill 2 more cards. There's a Vengevine and another Bloodghast in the graveyard. So now Sam's going to sacrifice the Polluted Delta. He'll get a Blood Crypt. Now 3 Bloodghasts will come back from the graveyard. How does Sam move forward from here is the question. He does have a Hogak in the graveyard that he could obviously get back. Not sure how good that does, how much that does for him, but he is going to start there, it looks like. So here comes Hogak now as he's going to exile some cards for the Delve and bring back the big 8/8. All right. Remember, he's at 2. So he doesn't have a lot of life to work with.
He has 1 blocker.
Sacrificing a Bloodghast. 2 cards going to the graveyard. There's a Bridge from Below. Okay, so there's step 1 as you take a good look at Altar of Dementia, reprinted in Modern Horizons. This 2-mana artifact allows you to sacrifice a creature and then target player puts a number of cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power from the top of their library into their graveyard. So Sam is working through this engine with this Bridgevine deck, a very new addition from Modern Horizons. As now Sam gets to go 1 by 1 with the sacrificing. He says, I'm going to sacrifice Bloodghast, put a Bridge from Below trigger on the stack to make a zombie. Would you like to respond? I imagine the answer is yes here from Billy Mitchell, but Billy Mitchell's got some thinking to do.
I don't know. If Sam can play over the top, if he can respond to each trigger by just sacrificing another Bloodghast. Basically, Sam is going to convert things that can't block into things that can block. And so there's not a whole lot of incentive for Mitchell to fight over the bridge in this exact spot because he's not going to break up Sam's ability to do what he can do anyway. Converting the Bloodghast and Carrion Feeders into things that can block is something he can do right now, even if Mitchell decides to try to pick a fight over the bridge. And if you're losing things that are eligible attackers next turn, all of which are lethal, I'm not sure how good that is.
Well, there goes the bridge.
Okay.
So Sam's not going to try to fight back because I don't think he thinks that's a fight he can win. So he will mill over 2 more cards, Hogak among them. It does make you wonder how comfortable Sam, who is a great player, how comfortable he is playing this deck and the mirror as well.
He and I are co-workers. He's been playing a ton.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, he's really, really good. I don't want to get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure a Pro Tour finalist.
Well, yeah, and he's in a spot now where he's pretty much doomed unless he hits the exact right cards off of his initial mills, which he did not, or if Mitchell makes a mistake. So plan 1 didn't work. Now we go to plan 2, which is hoping there's a mistake to be made.
You can see that our scoreboard has been updated, folks. Michael Mapson won game number 1 over Jess Estephan. Is It Phoenix Mirror goes to Michael thus far, and then for Carolyn Kavanagh, she got game number 1 over Ian Flinn. Eldrazi-tron, which is starting to make a bit of a resurgence here in Modern, up a game over the very powerful Devoted Devastation deck.
This deck is also very hard to play.
Yes, it is.
I think a lot of people just associate it with Dredge, where it's just, you have one game action, a turn you can take, and there's not a whole lot to think about. Here, the order of operations, what you can draw to that changes the math, all that is really tricky.
Sam's play there is very unique. So he's using Hogak and Bloodghast to convoke in another Hogak. Vengevine will trigger, and then with the Hogak still on the stack, he'll sack the Hogak that's already on the battlefield to his Alter Dementia to mill himself for 8 cards. Among those cards is a copy of Bridge from Below, so Sam might have some interest in sacrificing Bloodghast now, which can't block anyway.
Right. All of the game operations that Sam takes that allows him to convert non-blockers into blockers is huge for him. And if he can survive combat the next turn, and Mitchell doesn't have his own copy of Alter Dementia, it's very likely Sam can win the game easily next turn through the combo.
You can see Sam is so well versed in Magic as he's playing this game. He's helping Carolyn, of course, figure out if she wants to keep her opening hand or not. Sam doing 2 things at once, probably why he's in the middle seat here this weekend, as this game certainly does look complicated to the naked eye, and you can see by the look on Billy Mitchell's face, he's not quite sure how to respond, it appears. Because if Billy does sacrifice, let's say, a Vengevine in response, then that means that Sam doesn't have to go any further. And then you've got 3 blockers to 3 attackers.
Yep.
Well, actually, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, he's a little short. He'll have 4 to 3. But Sam wants to continuously force the action if he can here.
Right.
So we'll see what happens.
Because Mitchell is on no cards in hand, I believe.
And that's what it looks like.
If you can get him to start having to do something with the Vengevines to break up the Bridge from Belows, then he's short of attackers. It's really unlikely that Mitchell can get those Vengevines back pre-combat the next turn. And if you can survive combat this turn, like I said, Sam's board here is excellent for setting up an Alter Dementia combo kill.
Interesting. What's going to happen now? Okay, so Billy says that's fine, I believe.
And we're getting the zombies.
All right, so we're getting the zombies out of the box.
I mean, if Mitchell's not picking a fight here, I think there's a really good chance the game ends this turn.
Maybe Sam is milling him now?
Yeah, no, I think he's...
So I've never seen this aspect of things.
Yeah.
I think he's just going to be looping Hogaks, perhaps?
Right.
So he's going to use the Hogak on the battlefield and the zombie to convoke.
If you have If you have Alter plus Hogak, you're net positive on your own graveyard when you start milling.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just kind of go, to say nothing of, Sam's got the Vengevines and the Carrion Feeder to keep rolling here. I think he's all set up.
I think he's all set up as well, and you can tell that he has done this before because I've never seen this aspect of the deck. Now I'm going to sacrifice my Hogak. I'm going to mill you 8 cards. Yeah, I think he's just going to try to mill him out, and he's got enough zombies probably to do that. So perhaps Billy Mitchell was supposed to pick a fight there with that first Bridge from Below trigger, and he did not pick that fight, and he might be getting milled out as a result. Sam wants to know how many cards do you have left. Sam has at least 20 power on the battlefield.
Yeah.
So Sam was going to sacrifice a Vengevine. That's going to mill you 4. That's going to make another zombie.
And he gets a rebate on all the non-token sacrifice. So the Vengevines are actually milling for 6 here, in effect, to say nothing of their ability to loop Hogak back. If that comes up...
Same thing with the zombies, too.
Right. So
that's 2 more cards.
Yeah, he's got leftovers here.
Well, he also gets to convoke for 4 now, as opposed to the convoke always being for 2. He can say, I'll convoke for 4. Let's use Carrion Feeder and make it 5. Get rid of these Vengevines, sacrifice this, mill you all the way out. It's a beautifully, beautifully played game by Sam Pardee. It looked like he was in trouble starting from the second turn of the game, but he's able to will himself to victory with the Altar of Dementia. He wins game number 1 in what's going to be, I think, a pretty common mirror match here today in Pittsburgh.
I mean, we were talking there about Sam's ability to block out of turn 3 to get to turn 4. Didn't even need that.
Nope.
Yeah, the operations of this deck are very complicated. It's multi-dimensional. It doesn't... It looks kind of singularly focused. It is not. There's a lot of different ways this deck can attack you.
Well, let's take a look at the sideboards here for both players. We're going to start with Billy Mitchell and his 4 Leyline of the Voids, 4 Nature's Claims, 3 Thought Seizes, 2 Fatal Push, a copy of Shenanigans, and an Assassin's Trophy. I think the first card is pretty obvious.
So 4 ley lines, and then the Abrupt Decay and the Nature's Claims to fight over opposing copies of Leyline of the Void, and in some spots, Alter Dementia.
For Sam's sideboard, this is a little bit different. So he's got 4 copies of Wismare, which have been somewhat popular online. Some players are playing Nature's Claim, like Billy. Others are playing Wismare. You've got 2 Fatal Pushes, 2 Ley Lines of his own, 2 Ingot Chewers, along with 2 Thoughtseizes, a Wear Tear, a Lightning Axe, and a Plague Engineer. So he is very diversified, and he doesn't even have the full 4 Ley Lines.
Right. Well, I think that the opposing decks having their own copies of Nature's Claim, Assassin Trophy, Wismare, etc., just sticking a turn 0 leyline is no guarantee to win the game. It's still good, but it's not something really worth leaning your entire sideboard around. I think you're going to see the copies of Wismare and the leylines come in. Maybe the Ingot Chewer also can hedge against certain sideboard cards, but you're going to see roughly the same spot here. Anti-enchantment stuff and the leylines.
Well, those are the options there for both players. They're going to sideboard up. You can take a look at our scoreboard there. And Mapson is up a game in his match. Pardee and Kavanagh are up a game in their matches. So the team on the right is currently in the lead against the team on the left. And while we get ready here for game number 2 between Sam Pardee and Billy Mitchell, let's take a look at our weekly sale here with Star City Games. I know you love these, so I'm just going to let you take it away.
So every Monday, 11 a.m. East Coast time, new sale goes up on the website over at go.starcitygames.com/sale. Make sure to be checking back once a week to see what's on sale. Right now, discounts on cards such as Snow-Covered Island.
Oh, yeah.
Settle the Wreckage, Water Market, and a card.
Come on.
Lorwyn's kind of a blank spot for me. You were playing, and that's where our delta is most pronounced. I was playing very little during Lorwyn, and that was probably when you were playing Magic the most. I do not know that card.
Riz the Redeemed.
There you go.
There you go.
Well, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that you know Lorwyn better than I do, more than I know Arabian Nights better than you do? Those are probably our biggest deltas. The first few expansions for me versus you, and then Lorwyn block for you versus me.
Well, I can promise you I know nothing about Arabian Nights outside of the mountains. Lorwyn, I feel like I've got a pretty good grip on it. It looks like Ian Flinn has tied things up against Carolyn Kavanagh. So they'll be headed to game number 3, it appears, as Jess and Michael are still playing. Of course, we do want to jump around those matches as best we can. So we'll be doing some unique staggering and holding of matches here this weekend because we want to bring you as much Magic as we can. Again, no time-shifted matches here this weekend in a team tournament, and we don't have the ability to move people from other tables under camera. So we got to make these matches here kind of last as long as we can. And I didn't expect that game to go that long. After the second turn?
It's pretty complicated.
Right?
It is a complicated deck.
But if you can harness the power of this deck, as Sam Pardee demonstrated in that first game, you might have a really good tournament.
I've been winning well over half of my matches against Hogak online with Mono Red Prowess.
Okay.
And I don't know how much of that is the matchup's good versus my opponents are just not playing the deck at its ceiling.
Sure.
I suspect it's a lot of the second right now.
There are going to be a lot of busted things going on, I'm going to tell you what, when we watch Bridgevine on camera. But hey, these Is It Phoenix decks are still very good.
Pretty wild to go turn 2 Hogak with 2 Vengevines and other infrastructure.
And lose?
On turn 3.
Yeah.
When Sam had to just spend his second turn just frantically chump blocking out of the attacks.
You did that on turn 2 on the play.
Right.
Hogak, a couple of Vengevines that attacked.
Yep.
And lose that game. That's a tough start to the day.
Sam's second turn was just keeping his head above water.
Yep.
He made very little forward progress.
But to Sam's credit, and I'm not too surprised, but it is notable, very cool, calm, and collected the whole game. He said he's been playing this deck a lot.
And, you're playing it. You know what the deck can do.
Yeah.
It's not surprising. To Mitchell's opening there was not that surprising.
It was also notable to me, too, with his Faithless Looting, he discarded an Altar, which led me to believe he probably had another one rolled up and just had to get to the point where if he was able to get that on the battlefield, it would probably lead to a win. Mm-hmm. But the sideboard games are going to be interesting to me in this situation because what's going to happen now is Sam going to lose to a Leyline? Does he have answers to Leyline? How many does he bring in? Because the one thing about this deck that's a little strange is how do you dilute your deck after sideboard? It's a common question for Dredge players and Bridgevine players.
Right, and unlike Dredge where, you have a chunk of cards in your deck that just say Dredge on it, you have a little wiggle room with them, and so you can just cut the worst ones. Here the deck is all engine. The text boxes are actually unique. It's not just a bunch of redundant just self-mill with no text box. So what you choose to cut out of the deck is a meaningful decision, much more than the traditional Dredge decks of Modern.
Okay, I have
And these players are getting ready here for game number 3. Keep in mind, a lot of things to talk about here this weekend. First of all, Core Set 2020 coming out.
Talk to me.
Core Set 2020 coming out. We're going to be doing a preview card at the end of every single round. So we'll be talking about stuff like we always do when we're in preview season for a brand new set. I can't forget to mention that Craig Krempels is back in the booth.
Yeah.
Back with the SCG Tour squad, teaming up with Brian Gottlieb for all of Season 2. So they'll be in the booth for rounds 3 and rounds 4.
I played multiple Team Pro Tours and Team Grand Prix with Craig.
Yep. Happy to have him back.
I would say that in our prime years, we constituted one of Magic's best backcourts.
That's good. Hey, Craig could play. People don't know.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of Pro Tours. He's got a lot of Pro Tour top 16s.
Oh, I thought you were talking about basketball.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, you can ball?
A very heady point guard. Sort of imagine Andre Miller type.
Okay.
Low to the ground. Not a great outside shooter, but just knows how to run the point, can get to his spots.
Well, not a great athlete, but knows how to use his body.
Plays under the rim, but, good use of his body.
Hey,
for
Andre
sure.
Miller had a long career.
Oh, yeah.
Well, made a lot of money in the NBA. Lay line of the only 2. Found one. Well, there you go. You only need 2 if you always have 1.
Right.
That's how this works. So now the question is for Billy Mitchell. You had to have seen this coming. You had to expect Ley Line of the Void, as Sam has a Stitcher supplier. He'll turn over 3 cards. Among them is another Stitcher supplier and a couple of lands. Billy Mitchell with a Gravecrawler. Now here's the question: has Billy Mitchell brought in those? Has he brought in those Nature's Claims? I have to imagine the answer is yes.
Oh, no question. No question.
How many do you bring in? Do you bring in all 4? Probably.
All because they also come up in spots against Alter Dementia. It's not just Ley Line. Now, often when they have Alter, they do everything in one turn, but that's not always the case. Mm-hmm. And if you tag it, it's a huge deal.
So how familiar is Billy Mitchell in the matchup? That is the million-dollar question. Is it's going to be a Faithless Looting discarding a Bloodghast among the other cards. There is a Marsh Flats. Remember, these cards that have been discarded via Faithless Looting and the looting itself are exiled, as Pardee is going to untap. Carolyn has a question that Sam is happy to answer as he works into his second turn. This is Insolent Neonate. Discarding a Vengevine, draw a card. You have to imagine Sam has another creature to play. He'll start by sacrificing a Verdant Catacombs. That is a Blood Crypt. This is a busted Magic deck, and we're probably going to have a pretty good second turn here for old party time. There's Carrion Feeder. Remember, Gravecrawler cannot block. However, Sam is going to start by attacking with just Vengevine. It leads me to believe that somebody's got a very large avatar in their hand if he's not attacking with that Stitcher supplier.
Or it's just the 1 point that you get out of that attack is not worth as much as the 2 coming back.
Sure. Looks like Michael Mapson will dig up an Overgrown Tomb that will enter the battlefield tapped. He'll fall down to 13.
You know, if Mitchell clearly, as of things right now, can't do anything about the ley line, and if that's the case, playing extra turns is so good for you that I think it's worth being a little on the conservative side.
Well, we're out of the ley line lock. Nature's Claim is going to take care of the powerful enchantment. And now can Billy Mitchell catch up real quick?
Yeah, I mean, he's very low on cards in hand. This is something that's also different about this deck than, let's say, Dredge, although Stitcher Supplier here is very good. It can take a little while to get the ball rolling again. You aren't super redundant in your ability to mill yourself over. You got to play You actually have to play cards out of your hand. It's not just dump one thing in and go. So the fact that Mitchell is down to 3 cards in hand and has spent a lot of his time, digging for Nature's Claim, it's a lot worse for this deck than it is for Dredge, and it's really bad for Dredge.
Gravecrawler is going to come into the red zone here. Billy doesn't look thrilled about this attack. Of course, it can't block.
Right.
And Sam, I think, has some interest in blocking.
The thing is that Sam has the out anyway of just being able to sacrifice the Stitcher Supplier to the Carrion Feeder. Mm-hmm. So Mitchell's not cutting him off of that. The Gravecrawler can't block, so, what else are you doing? It's not a great attack, but the alternative is worse, I think.
Well, Pardee is thinking about tendering a block here. And it looks like he will. So there's your block. Pardee's going to mill over a couple of cards. Vengevine among them. And we might be headed back over to Pardee in just a moment. It's good for Billy that he's actually gotten out of this ley line, as he'll play a Blood Crypt taps and pass the turn back. We're going to head over to Sam for his third turn of the game. Jess is interested in that draw step. Big smile on her face as Sam moves to his third turn.
And now, from Pardee's perspective, there's a bit of a disincentive to attack in the spot because Mitchell's got nothing going, and if you allow him to chump block with a Citrus Supplier, he could suddenly have something going.
Yeah, and that's always the scariest thing, right? Citrus Supplier is such a great card in this deck that it's basically 4 cards in the graveyard when it dies. Itself plus the 3 that it mills.
Yeah.
And so now you have to think if it's worth attacking or not.
With Mitchell down to 1 card in hand and only the Citrus Supplier, there is an incentive on Pardee's side to do nothing until he can easily attack for lethal.
All right, so this is interesting. Sam is going to get back a Gravecrawler. He's going to get back Gravecrawler again. And so now Vengevine is going to come back. So that's the easy part of the turn, I think. And now here comes the Carrion Feeder and the 2 copies of Vengevine. So he's going to allow Billy to block with the Citrus Supplier, but we could also see Sam sacrifice the creature that Citrus Supplier blocks.
Yeah.
That will not be the case. So Supplier is going to mill 3 cards. Bloodghast among those cards.
But nothing that gives Mitchell a path to blocking next turn. So that's a win for Sam.
Pardee's now going to sacrifice Polluted Delta in his second main phase, dig up a land. And that is a swamp. We'll see where we go from here. This is another Gravecrawler. So Billy Mitchell's facing lethal next turn. He'll draw a card. He's got some serious catching up to do. It's going to start by flashbacking Faithless Looting, and if that's the turn, I think if you're Sam, you're probably feeling pretty good about it, and you are. Sam Pardee's going to win his game and match here over Billy Mitchell. Estephan, Pardee, and Kavanagh are up a match here in this best of 3.
I think we have held game 3s on both sides here. We'll be hopping over here in a moment.
We'll be hopping over to one of them. I think we've held Mapson and Estephan. I believe Kavanagh and Flinn are underway in their third game. It looks like Flinn and Kavanagh have completed their match, so we'll find out what the results is here in just a moment. Either this round ends, or we get to watch game number 3 between Mapson and Jess. And it's coming down to game 3. It broke perfect.
Beautiful.
It broke perfect. It looked like Ian Flinn won the match over Carolyn Kavanagh. So now we get to see Jess and Estephan do battle here against Michael Mapson in an Is It Phoenix Mirror. Jess, of course, a member of the MPL. Got to hang out with her last weekend at Las Vegas at the Mythic Championship 3. She just loves to play some Magic, man.
And as much press as this Hogak deck has received, and with good reason, it wouldn't surprise me when this all shook out when we got to day 2 if Is It Phoenix was the most played deck.
Wouldn't surprise me either. Both these players have kept their hands. They're ready to rock and roll. It's a sleight of hand here for Michael Mapson, who's on 6 cards, and he's scribed to the bottom. A Polluted Delta is where Jess will start things. And she'll simply pass the turn back. Mapson now with a Serum Visions. Anything interesting going on? Remember that flex slot that we've seen so many times between Gut Shot and Surgical Extractions? Those kind of switching depending on the metagame. I have to imagine it's Surgical this week.
So new action going on in Mapson's deck. I'm scrolling through the deck list now. 2 copies of Magmatic Sinkhole.
Yep, that's a delve removal spell.
I've seen that pick up in popularity. 3 mandate copies of Aria Flame.
Okay.
A Fiery Islet. 1 Lava Dart.
Okay.
No main deck copies of Surgical Extraction.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry, 2.
I was gonna say that's pretty surprising. Here is a Thought Scour from Jess. She will target herself. A couple copies of Faithless Looting will go to the graveyard. Now she'll draw a card. She'll be untapping here in just a moment for her second turn of the game. Jess has 1 Magmatic Sinkhole. one Lava Dart. Got a main deck copy of Lightning Axe, which is starting to become common nowadays. That Fiery Islet as well, she has one of those. I'm on the hunt here for some Surgicals. Okay, I've got 2 Surgicals. I've also got 3 Aria Flames. So It looks like a lot of players have moved towards Aria Flame and away from Pyromancer's Ascension. Todd Anderson, Jerry Thompson, among many who are very much into that new card from Modern Horizons.
Yeah, I underestimated that one during the preview season. I thought that was going to be kind of a casual, fun build-around.
Yeah.
I underestimated how powerful it would be for Izzet Phoenix to have a card, a win condition that's not a creature and doesn't involve the graveyard.
Yeah.
It's really powerful.
Gain 10 life is a lot, but it turns out it may not be that much.
I mean, so in the context of what the spell's doing, that's 3 spells.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3 is that gets you to, excuse me, the 4th spell, now you're net positive.
Yep.
The deck's all cantripping, so it's not like that's that hard to do.
And once you work Manamorphose in the equation, it seems like it gets really easy to do.
Yeah. It's 20 spells that replace themselves with selection. It's not that hard.
It's another copy of Thing in the Ice here for Jess, and now Michael's got one of his own. So these players are loading up on the O4s. That'll turn into something much larger if things go the way that they want them to. Wouldn't be surprising if Jess was able to transform both of her copies on this turn. And Lava Dart is a nice way to assist doing that. I think that's a huge upgrade for this deck.
Yeah.
Makes it so you don't have to play Gut Shot while it's still a very, very good card.
Right. It is super good for the deck. The deck doesn't always have a mountain as part of the issue. But having access to a second spell, you have enough self-milling where it just gets flipped over some amount of the time.
Just going to dial up a Steam Fence here, so it looks like there's something to do on Michael's end step.
And it looks like Estephan has just sandbagged a lot of copies of Manamorphose, played Thing in the Ice last turn to set up transforming both of them this coming turn.
The Thought Scour is going to reveal another Thing in the Ice and Serum Visions. Those will be placed in the graveyard. New card, in Jess's hand. And now she will draw a card for her 4th turn. I can't believe we're playing 4 turns of Magic in Modern. It's unbelievable.
Well, this deck's got a lot of removal, you know. It drags the game out a little bit.
Yeah, it sure does. Red-blue with the Manamorphose. And now here's the Thought Scour. Awoken Horrors, I think, will be on the way here in just a moment. And just a red mana floating. Still hasn't used the Steam Vent yet, also hasn't played a land yet. So here's Mechmat's perfect.
That is the perfect.
Yeah, Magmatic Sinkhole is going to take care of the Thing in the Ice, and Michael Mapson is going to immediately extend the hand as the team of Jess Estephan, Samuel Pardee, and Carolyn Kavanagh are on the board this weekend, folks. They win round number 1 here in Pittsburgh. Izzet Phoenix, Bridgevine, and Eldrazi Tron take it down, winner here in Pittsburgh.